Autopilot aborted for camera visibility. Yep. Oh. After 2,868 miles, finish line of the Cannonball. Here we are, made it all the way. Hello viewers, I am parked here in front of the Red Ball Garage in Manhattan, which is the traditional start of the Cannonball run from here in New York City to California on the West Coast, all the way across. Now what am I doing here? Well, I have my Model 3 Performance that is almost brand new, actually. It just hit 5,000 miles on it. And I am going to do a non-traditional Cannonball. I'm going to FSD, full self-drive, from here to the West Coast to touch the wheel as little as possible. And I think I can basically touch the wheel not at all. I have full self-driving 12.5.6.3, which is the latest and greatest. Got a camera there that's going to be watching. I have that camera there that can watch the wheel and where we're going, and then an iPhone there as well. So they'll video everything, and it's not going to be nonstop because it's just me being solo, but I'm going to stitch it all together and show you guys that you can drive across the country from New York to LA. In 2017, I believe it was 2017, Elon said on an earnings call that within a year, a Tesla would be able to drive from LA to New York without a human being involved. Now, obviously, that didn't happen, and that still can't quite work, but I think we're pretty close. I've been testing this, and it's been really interesting to see how it works, and I'm pretty confident that I can get from here to there and basically only touch the wheel at superchargers. The basic limitation right now is that it can navigate to the supercharger, but it's like the last 100 feet or so when you get from like the parking lot, the edge of the parking lot, to the spots themselves that you have to, all have to manually drive. Then it can actually auto park and back into the spot. So it's, that transition from the car driving itself to it parking. And so other than that, I think I should be able to get across the country from here in New York to LA without touching the steering wheel. So I'm going to have all the video, and I'm going to be honest and say this is where it is. I'm not shilling for Tesla here. I just want to see if it can do it. I think it can, and I'm really curious about whether this is going to work or not. Portofino Redondo Beach. That is the traditional endpoint. Let's see what it says if I say navigate, and it's going to find superchargers on the way, and that's an interesting route. I don't know if I want to take that route, to be honest. It's through the mountains in December. Now, I do have winter tires on here. I have my Nokian R5 on Martian wheels. The other route would be basically here to Ohio, through Indiana, and then down Missouri into Oklahoma, and then you take the I-40 route across instead of this, which is what, I-80, I think? It's I-80 all through here. It would be this route down through Ohio, southern Ohio to Indiana, down through Missouri to Oklahoma, and then straight across it's Amarillo into New Mexico and everything. So I may, I reserve the right to change my routing here to navigate through, Amarillo. And actually, let's see, can I force this? Let me add a stop. There we go. That's the preferable route here. I think we're gonna do that. We stop at all those chargers and then go to Amarillo. All right, there we go. So that's what we'll do. It's going to figure itself out, and we'll make that route, and we'll head across the country, and we'll end up in California at some point. So I have a couple rules for myself for what I'm going to do here. Here in Autopilot, you have 3 different profiles that you can choose from, and these sort of change the way the car behaves. You have chill, standard, and hurry. The standard is where I'm going to spend most of my time. Hurry will sort of take it to whatever the top speed is and keep you in the left lane most of the time. Standard will pass when it needs to and otherwise stay in the middle. And so I'm going to allow myself to change between those driving profiles based on the situation at hand. And this is how you do that. So you can sort of toggle this to the left and right, and that will change the profile of how it wants to drive when on the highway, chill, standard, or hurry. I'm going to default to standard, so we'll see how that does. The max speed offset. Now, how this works is, let's say the maximum speed on the highway is 60 miles an hour. So a 40% speed offset would allow the car to go a maximum of 24 miles an hour, 40% over 60 as a max speed. Now, it doesn't mean it wants to go that speed, but that's the maximum it would by default allow itself to go. And you can spin the wheel to change that. So I want to sort of leave that there, and then when it's in standard, it doesn't try and go the max speed. So the 40% is actually what Tesla recommends when you first turn this on. So I'm going to leave that at 40, leave that on standard, but I do reserve the right to reduce the speed, because it's going to, default to 80 or 84 or whatever it is, to reduce the speed based on conditions or if there's a cop up ahead or whatever. Those are the two things I'm going to be able to adjust, and that will not count as an intervention. Those are just changing the settings on the car. We'll be doing that. And then the other thing that I'll be able to do is you can use the turn signals to change lanes, to ask it to change lanes. And I'm going to try and not do those unless there's a reason to, like there's a truck at the side of the road or like police car or something like that. But for the most part, the car actually on a 3-lane highway will stay in the middle lane, and so I shouldn't have to worry about that too much. So that is the autopilot settings. Red Ball Garage, that's the route. That's how we're going. It should be a good adventure. Start here at the garage and on the way to California. It is 1:53 and I am leaving New York FSD to make it work. I gotta take the gas to put it in gear and then just hit the start and let's see how we do. This was my first intervention, and it was not exactly a safety one. It's that I wanted to go through the Easy Pass lane and not pay cash. So I just grabbed the wheel, changed lanes, and then restarted FSD. So I learned from a previous toll booth to use the scroll wheel to slow the max speed for when it's going through. Otherwise it'll take too much speed in and then slow down too late or not at all, and I didn't want that. So I used that to slow down. And then, as I predicted, it would have a little bit of trouble getting me to the supercharger within the parking lot. And so what it does right here, and I just let it play out to see what would happen, is it should go straight into the parking lot directly ahead, but it doesn't. It turns right, and then if it had turned left into the parking lot right there on the left, that would have been okay. It would have ended up at the superchargers, but it didn't. It tried to turn into this empty dirt lot next to the restaurant where you couldn't get over to the superchargers. So I had to manually drive here to turn it around and then pull it into the parking lot where I was able to auto park. So it was not able to even get into the parking lot this time. Maybe an address was wrong or something, but it got pretty close. All right, welcome to Newburg, Pennsylvania. We have gone 217 miles, and now we have our charge ramping up. And it was actually interesting. Turn this around. I had two, I'll call them takeovers. One was predicted, and it was right here at the supercharger. Came off the highway, knew it showed on the map where to go, but it did not pull into the parking lot. So I had to manually pull into the parking lot and come over here, and then I turned the auto park on, and the car backed into the spot perfectly. The only other time I had to do it was coming out, I think, of the Lincoln Tunnel, or coming, no, it was on like getting onto the New Jersey Turnpike or something, and there was a bunch of toll booths, and I wanted to be in an easy pass lane because I have an easy pass, and what it seemed to be doing was finding another car to follow, and it followed them through the toll booth. Now, I've been through a few toll booths on this trip so far, and when it had a car to follow, it was great. This one coming off the highway and getting onto the highway here, I think this is the Pennsylvania Turnpike, it was coming towards the toll booth a bit fast. I think it would have been fine, but I manually spun the wheel to lower the speed. So just so you know, that the controls here that I'm allowing myself to do, one controls the profile that the car is in. So in here, we have the FSD profile, chill, standard, heavy. I'm pretty much just going in standard most of the time. And then this speed offset is sort of what the maximum speed that it'll go to is. And I'm setting that at 85. I have not gotten near 85. The fastest I got was actually just in this stretch here on the highway when the speed limit was 70, and it got up to 77. And it was pretty happy there in the middle lane in standard. So that's been going pretty well. Other than that, I did not have to intervene at all in the 217 miles from the Red Ball garage here to the supercharger. So the toll booth, I think, was probably 5 seconds because I took over, changed lanes to the correct toll booth, and then even before I'd gotten through it, I was like aiming through it, I had re-engaged the FSD. So I have it all on video. But that was the one thing. So it was around a toll booth, which I'm not entirely surprised by, to be honest. But other than that, and then this moment here in the pulling into the supercharger, which I also was not surprised by. I was impressed that when it had a follow car, it was happy to go through the toll booth. So I think there's a little bit of logic, and it needs to slow down ahead of toll booths when it sees that it's approaching a toll booth. And but other than that, merges and things, it was pretty excellent overall. So that is my update from the first supercharging station, 217 miles in, about 4 hours or so, a little less than 4 hours. And just so we have it, 296 watt hours per mile. So 3.2, something like that, miles per kilowatt hour, which with snow tires on, I'm feeling okay with that. So I'm going to charge up here. It says 35 minutes. 35 minutes to continue the trip, and I am going to keep following the directions that it's giving me here to go. And one thing that it did that was kind of interesting is I was not originally going to Newburg. I was actually going to Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And I'm happy because Carlisle is actually a V2 supercharger, and this is a V3, as you can see by the speed there that's already starting to ramp down. But it changed my place to stop, and I think it said, oh, you're going, we're changing due to a closed supercharger. I don't know which supercharger it was. It was not the one I was about to go to, but I think it might be one further on that it was sort of saving me from. Like, oh, there's this 1 and 2, and if you go to this slightly further one now, then you can do it. You can get away with it. I don't know. Something like that maybe. But we're here in Newburg, plugged in, charging up. I'm gonna grab a snack and a drink and go check out this ice cream and farmers market. Hey, that sounds fun. And check it out. But so for our first leg here, 217 miles, no interventions that were not related to pulling into a supercharger or a toll booth. So other than that, we were pretty solid. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And I think in total it was, literally 5 seconds for the toll booth. And, to pull in here was probably 300 feet or something to go, from over there to over here. So pretty solid overall. And, that's the first impressions. But the end-to-end highway is really good, and for the most part, I was able to just leave it in standard and let it determine how fast to go, determine what lane to be in. I think I did do a couple manual lane changes when there was a police officer on the side of the road. I pressed to move over, and actually one of them was interesting. It was in the middle lane, pressed the button, and I've got video of all this for later, but this is just the update on the drive. It was in the middle lane, pressed the turn signal to change lanes. It moved to the left lane and then stayed there because it was, a quarter mile, half a mile away from the cop that was pulled over on the side of the road with his lights on. Moved over into the far left lane, and then just as we passed him, it started to move back to the right and move back to the middle lane. So I'm pretty sure that it knew, it could see the police car with flashing lights and everything at the side of the road. I manually moved over, which I kind of wish it had done because there was no other cars around me. But I moved over, and then just as we passed it, it moved back to the middle. So that's pretty cool. So lots of interesting behaviors by it. I've been taking some notes in my notes app on my phone as we've gone. So I got some stuff to go and grab from the video because honestly, it's been 4 hours. Most of it was really boring because not much interesting is happening on the highway, but few interesting things. So toll booths, that's the big one, and the nav to the final 150 feet to a supercharger. And then I did turn on auto park, so it parked itself once I got over here. So just stitching, coming off the highway into the parking lot and stitching that with the supercharger, which is something that Tesla has said is coming. And, I think that'll be in version 13, which we'll see when that drops. But we've heard good things about it. So that's my update here from Newburg. And, we'll see. The next one is Triadelphia, West Virginia, which, okay, sounds good. So there we go. And we're now at 132 kilowatts. So dropping fast. And I do not have a cloth to wrap around the handle out of spec style, but we'll just do it en natural this time. So we will see you on the next one. All right, and I come outside after my restroom and grabbing a snack from here at the, oh, let's see if we can get it zoomed in here. There you go, McKinney Station Ice Cream and Farmers Market, and to see that it is snowing just a little bit, and it doesn't seem to be sticking, but we'll see what that does to the FSD. It did, I forgot to mention earlier, it did rain a little bit. So we had some rain, it got dark, we got through sunset, and it was totally fine with all of it. It complained a little bit about the, the cameras being occluded or whatever, just, FSD degraded, but it seemed to work fine. So no issues there. Car's doing great. There are, go on this side here. There are our Nokian tire R5s, the Hakkapeliitta R5, which is perfect for this weather right here. Oh, look at that. And those are on the Martian wheels, so those are fantastic winter tires. Sounds like those guys have some studded winter tires there, but gosh, isn't that pretty? A little Tesla snowstorm going on there, which is perfect. So there we go. So I just wanted to give that update and let you know about the snow, and we will see how it does. It should be okay as long as it doesn't start sticking too badly, but who knows? We'll see. But there we go. Adventure on. This way, out of the parking lot. Even though I had just used the restroom, I realized that I actually wanted some snacks, and there was a rest area right here off the highway, and I wasn't sure of the best way to have it auto-navigate in there, so I took over and drove manually and pulled in. I did figure out later that I could press and hold on the map, and it would give me a point that I could have the car navigate to. So if I saw a rest area coming up, I could press and hold, and it would pull off and navigate to it. So I figured that out later. But at this point, I didn't realize that was the best way to do it. So here is a bit more manual driving, but it wasn't anything that the car had done. It was entirely for me to go get some gummy bears or whatever. on the way out of the parking lot, we also had a little bit of trouble as the car turns left and goes towards the on-ramp. You can see the do not enter signs ahead, and the car is gonna go straight down the do not enter. So again, this is problems with parking lots. I was a little annoyed because it does show on the map the correct way to go. I don't know why it was going that way. But I manually turn the car around, hit the button again, and then we wait for that car to get out of the way, and it then takes us right out of the rest area. So parking lots continue to be a problem, both navigating in and out, and that will be a theme throughout this video. This was sort of an intervention. It actually would have been fine if I had let it go, but I had my hand on the wheel because it was pushing to the left to get away from the truck, and it just got a little bit closer than I was comfortable with, and I torqued the wheel enough to disengage. Now, it would have been fine, but it was very, very close, and so I manually disengaged and then re-engaged a few seconds later once we were in the tunnel. But it's on turns with big trucks, it does push a bit to the left-hand side, a bit further than I would like, though in other circumstances it just stomped on the brakes and slowed down. So if you're on the outside of a curve with a truck next to you, it may slow down. Alrighty, welcome to New Stanton, Pennsylvania. Had a little bit of snow, but not too bad. Let's plug in here. They make it so easy. You just plug in, green light, beautiful. I got my Tesla lights there when I open up the door. And let's see, yeah, there you go, already charging up. So a couple interesting things here. I did have one intervention, which was barely an intervention, but it happened. And it was basically entering a tunnel on a curve, and there was a big truck to my right, big tractor trailer truck. And it was going to make the curve. If I hadn't touched the wheel, it would have been fine. But I just had my hand on the wheel a little bit to, just in case it was going to hit the wall, because it was just a narrow lane going into this tunnel on I-76, whatever it was. And I think I just put a little bit extra torque on the wheel, and it disengaged, and I said, oh, turned it right back on. So it would not have been an issue. It wouldn't have hit the wall, anything like that. I had my hand on the wheel just in case, and just torqued it a little bit, and so that set it off. So I had that. And I did stop at a rest area, and so I did have to disengage to take the exit because I didn't know what to search for in the nav to make it route there. So I did do that, and that only I don't think that counts to me personally, because it was like, oh, I want to go, use the bathroom, and I had to do something with the cameras. So I would count the thing with the tunnel, and I'm going to do a roundup after the trip is done, when I can dump the cameras and edit the video and everything and show all of these things and time-lapse and all that. But just wanted to give the update that we did have that, so it would have been fine. The other thing that was interesting was it was basically a bunch of mountains, and it's, as you can see, it is nighttime, and it's, a little bit of snowiness, and there was a lot of curves, sharp curves going downhill, and I did adjust the max speed a couple times before I remembered that I have the speed profiles. So I have the full self-driving profiles, and I've been in standard most of the time. Once I put it in chill, then it was fine. And standard, honestly, it was not, I don't think it was being unsafe. It was just maybe a little faster than I would have gone at night with a little bit of snow coming down. And I think it was totally safe. And I just wanted it to slow down a little bit. So it was going, 70. The speed limit was 70, and it was going 70. And I wanted it to go 65. So I adjusted the speed with the little knob down. So I didn't hit the brakes, I didn't hit the gas, I didn't do anything. I just adjusted the speed, which is what it's there for. But then once I went into the profiles and I put it in chill, it was perfectly happy to do that. So I got to remember that the profiles exist, and you can adjust those by touching the wheel. But it's at night. It's sort of raining, sleeting, snowing. It keeps changing depending on the altitude. But it did great. There was it didn't even complain about it being dark or it being wet or it being anything. So it did fantastic. Obviously, in the day, in the dry, it seemed a little better. But I think, honestly, that was more me. I could see better. I think the car was fine either way. So it's just been interesting to see. I'm interested to see the video of what it all looked like. Because it always looks different watching it again on the next go round. So, it's been interesting. Let's see. We'll look at the numbers here. Yep. So we are 348 miles in. And average energy went down, or excuse me, got worse. That last run was 354 watt hours per mile. So a lot of that was all the altitude change, and we can actually see here, increased climate activity, blah, blah, blah. Staying under 70 would have helped. Going uphill cost you, yeah. So it's, the going uphill and things. And then it was complaining about, yeah, the wind. 11 mile an hour wind from the west cost us 4.2%. So, yeah, it's windy, and I'm going directly into the wind. So that's not very helpful. So that's that. Next up, it says Cambridge, Ohio, and this has been recalculating, which has been kind of interesting. So it says we got 10 more minutes, so I gotta go turn off the cameras here and dump the memory cards onto my laptop just to free them up so that we got enough room in the cards. But that's it. So here at basically a gas station right off the highway. This might be a rest area. I don't know what they call it. I think it's an exit. So New Stanton, Pennsylvania, and next we're just going to go west on I-70. I think I hit, yeah, we go through, this is like the tip of West Virginia. Here, oh, that's not helpful at all. There we go. Yeah, so we go through just this little sliver of West Virginia right there on the way from Pennsylvania to Ohio. So that'll be fun. There you go. There is a Supercharger in West Virginia, but it is a V1, so glad we're not there. But here we are, 44%, and charging at 128 kilowatts. And I do have the AC on because it's cold out, 29 degrees. So there we go. That's my update. So it did have an intervention, but it was not like a, it was just me had my hand on the wheel just for safekeeping and disengage. And literally, I think it was for 2 seconds. And put it back in, and then we went through the tunnel, and it went fine. And I know people have been asking, like, oh, how does it do in the tunnel and things? It does fine in the tunnel. The thing about tunnels is they're like well lit and dry and straight for the most part. So it worked great. So there we go, on the way to LA. For completeness, we'll video this too. Hit the brake, slight throttle, FSD. Basically right there, I think. Interesting. Right here. Auto park ready. If I park here, how many times my Sentry is going to go off? All right, let's get some sleep. Here we go. Would you go this way? Sure, I guess. Driving through West Virginia, and got some snow coming down, but the visibility is still excellent. And you know, coming downhill, driving around the tractor trailers and things, I do have it on hurry, and at 65 miles an hour, it's happy to go 74 here in the left lane, trying to get around the trucks and such. And this is about to drop to 55, but I do have my max speed set at 85, so it's you know, it's going a reasonable speed. This is basically the speed that I would go, and my main complaint at this point is when it's in standard, it moves over immediately. So here, I'll put it in standard mode, and as soon as we get past that truck, it moves back to the right, which that's how I wish it would be in hurry. I wanted the speed of hurry. See, so now it's slowing down when it was going 74 and quite happy. And I want the speed of hurry with the lane behavior of standard, because driving out here on a 2-lane road, you know, on a 3-lane road, it's fine to be in the second lane. But on a 2-lane road, I want it to be in the right-hand lane if there's room so that people can pass, so I'm not camping in the left-hand lane. And it will eventually move over, and I think there's something to be said for, like, it, if someone's tailgating you, it'll move over more quickly or something. But, you know, it needs to move over and be in the passing mentality of standard in hurry mode. So hopefully they can fix that. I'm saying it here, and I've said it a couple other times, and hopefully that will fix itself, and that's that. So I'm gonna keep on driving, almost to Ohio. Okay, I just wanted you guys to see this. This is the amount of steering wheel input that I have to do when we come to a supercharger. So it knows that the supercharger is in there. I can see it over there. And so it's going to make the right turn at this red light into it. And so the superchargers are down there. And so, yep, it's going to make the right turn on its own. But now it doesn't know what to do. So, what's that? 150 feet? Something like that I have to take over. So, we'll come over here. And this is pretty full. So, let's go to that one. So I can choose it there on the auto park, and it will use all the cameras and everything and figure out where it wants to go. What's it doing? Go faster. This guy's mad. There we go. So, hands off. Backing in. And that guy's like, get out of the way, stupid electric. Yeah, well, whatever. And so there's the auto park. So it parks at the end, and it gets us to the driveway, but it doesn't get us all the way in. So now we can hop out. Unhook that, and plug it in. We get green light. And it's thinking. It's thinking. I really don't know what it's thinking about. Usually it doesn't take this long. Beginning to charge. There we go. So, yeah, so that's about what I have to do on FSD here is it can pull into the parking lot, but it can't navigate to the supercharger. And then even if it could, it can't park itself yet. So I had to stop and hit the auto park on there. So those are the two things that I've really run into, aside from the toll booths, which work some of the time if you have a follow car. But if not, it does need a little assistance to get you into the right lane. So it needs to be able to read the Easy Pass sign and get you through that, because I have my Easy Pass up there. And then other than that, it needs to get you to the Supercharger and park. So other than that, I did just drive, let's see, 120 miles from my hotel. And this is the reason I stopped here, even with 30% charge, is because I am following whatever this tells me to do, which is to replicate basically what the Tesla would do if it was driving itself across the country, and say, okay, this is the suggestion. So it wants me to stay here for 30 minutes, and then that'll get me enough time to go to Dayton, Ohio, which is whatever distance away that is. There we go. Across the whole state of Ohio. Which is a little disappointing because Ohio has some of the best superchargers along the way. So I could, there's superchargers in Columbus. So I could get to Columbus, and then I bet there's one, there's one that's like right off the highway-ish. Yep, so there's that one. And then, so that would be the next one. But on I-90 in Ohio, it's got chargers that are right off the highway, which is fantastic. Like, at a rest area, which is perfect. So, just gonna keep following the instructions there, and we'll keep going. So, charge here for 25 minutes. We are at a Sheetz, and maybe I'll go in there and see what they have for lunch while this thing charges up. Alright, so just wanted to give an update here. I just had my first real intervention of the drive, and so now I'm on a 2-lane section of road, but I was on a 3-lane section, and I was in the middle lane, and everybody started moving out of the 3rd lane, the far left lane, because it was going to end in about half a mile or so. And the car decided, okay, I want to pass these people because I want to be going faster than the rest of the traffic is. And so it moved into that left lane, which is fine to a point, but it apparently had zero recognition that that lane was going to end and didn't merge even though it had opportunity to do so. And when I intervened, and I'll pull the video later, but I can't, do it right now. But when I intervened, it looked like it was about to, follow the left-hand line as it merged and go into another car. And I don't know that it would have, but it didn't put on a turn signal like it normally does, and it just feels like it was an improper maneuver, because usually in a merge like that, the other times that I've had it, with a lane ending or whatever, it'll see it coming and move over, and it just didn't. So, my feedback on that is, number one, it should have known that lane was disappearing, and not moved into it in the first place. And that's actually something that's happened. That was the second time that's happened, where it's been like, oh, I want to move to the left to pass, into a lane that was about to disappear. And so, if the lane ahead is going to go away, because you can see it on the map data in half a mile or a mile or whatever, it shouldn't move left into it. It should just stay in the middle lane. So that was my first real, something's going to happen takeover of the trip, and 520 miles in. And, that was a weird case. The good thing about it is that should be a relatively easy thing to fix, is to just say, hey, if in the map data that a lane, whether it's a right or left lane for that matter, number one, get out of it, and number two, don't move into it. It looks like that lane's empty, but it's empty for a reason. And you could have the same thing with a construction lane going away, passing lane, whatever. So that was my first big intervention, but I wanted to report that to you guys and share that. So it was relatively easy to see coming. It wasn't, the surprise. It was just like, okay, this lane is ending, and what are we gonna do about it? So there we go. But other than that, it is a beautiful day here in Ohio, and we're just cruising along. Just watch out for those merge lanes. then here it went to do it again. It tries to change lanes when the merge is going away, so I steer back, then turn it back on, and then it does it again, tries to change lanes into the merge, and I turn it on again. So that was frustrating. So ridiculous. Almost there. Greetings from Richmond, Indiana at this Supercharger, which is in front of a major, I don't know, some Indiana Walmart. 10 minutes to continue the trip, which is great. But this camera has a 128 gig SD card, which is enough for 4 or 5 hours of HD or 4K video and everything. So it should be plenty. But it cannot get through 2 trips. So this drive was 2.5 hours, and so if I do 2 full segments between superchargers, this camera runs out of space, as I discovered yesterday. Now I plug it in to my MacBook here and then dump it onto that 4 terabyte SSD. But the thing is, I put it in just before we stopped. I still have 10 minutes left, but it's going to take about 10 minutes, it says, to do the transfer of the camera. And now if I want to do that one too, it will take another, 10 minutes or so. So it's like 20 minutes to dump that camera card and then a little bit more for that. So the car actually charges faster than I can dump the camera in order to film the trip to keep going. So, I was able to stop here, park, run inside, use the restroom, whatever, and dump the camera. And I'm still going to not be done with that when the car says, oh, it's time to continue your trip, so that you can make it to Terre, Haute with, more than 0% charge, which will not be enough. Because I just arrived here, actually, with 2%. So, gone from 42 to 45%, and it's charging up quick, and that's at a pretty full supercharger here. So someone did just park in their Chevy Equinox, brand new with temporary plates on it, so I should go talk to them and see what they think. But they thought that was pretty funny that, oh, am I going to have time to dump my camera card? It's like, well, actually, the charging is going to be done before the camera is. Go figure. And there's your car journalist road tripping, difficulties for the day. So there you go. Next up, Terre, Haute, St. Louis. Oh, Buc-ee's by midnight. That could be exciting. We'll see. See how far I get tonight. And there we go. Go that way. All right. So this is interesting. We're entering a work zone here, but there was just a sign above the highway that said there was a crash ahead and all lanes of the highway were closed. But the car had already rerouted to get off the highway at this next exit and go around it. So you can see here, it's getting off the highway and going around because the highway itself here is all backed up and closed and everything. And the cool thing about this is that it did it automatically, and I didn't need to change anything or do anything or look at the map or whatever. And it's going to get off the highway on its own in order to reroute and find the best way around this traffic. Whereas if I was driving and not paying attention and whatever, then I would have had to figure out, oh, do I get off the highway here and does it reroute and whatever. And maybe if I was like using Google Maps or something, it would have figured it out. But with FSD, it's just gonna take me off the highway and reroute and take me in a new direction. So let's see how it does here. We're taking this exit, and it says it's gonna save 9 minutes or something. And before it said, the sign on the highway said right lane blocked. Now it said all lanes blocked. So who knows what's going on up there, but it's going to take me off the highway here and turn right and then turn left. And basically we're going to follow this like Indiana farm road or something, county road off. And so you can see behind there are lots of vehicles getting off the highway, lots of trucks. And so maybe folks are just deciding like, oh, this is a good time to stop and use the restroom while the highway clears or something. So let's see if I can do this. Yeah, so it shows if I stayed on the highway, it's now 20 minutes difference, and I bet that's just gonna go up. So Hour 29 to the next charger if we get off the highway and go this way. Hour 47 if we stay on it. So, definitely better to get off, and it's just gonna take me the right direction. So I can just leave this here, and so what it did is it popped up a little message down here that said, you know, rerouting to save 10 minutes or whatever, and so it just rerouted and takes me there. So, you know, it's, and there's options in the settings where you can choose, like, here's how much time I need to save to reroute, you know, and it can be anywhere from like 1 minute to 15 minutes or something. And so, you know, if it was originally set at 15 minutes, it wouldn't have rerouted until, you know, oh, it turns out this really is a bad situation. So, this is a yield, a turn with a yield. So, you know, and yeah, I'm not steering. I just got, you know, don't mind my flip-flops. My feet get hot when the heat's on in the car. So, just gonna drive along here, and I don't even need to look at the map. I just need to be like, oh, the car knows where it's going. I'll figure it out. Just let it do its thing. So we're gonna go up here to this light. Looks like everybody else had the same idea. None of them are using full self-driving, but I bet a few of them are using, you know, nav or Waze or something. But let's see. Come on, we're stopped here. Yeah, so basically, you know, turn left, stay on this road for 8 miles, get back on I-70. And we're not going to be able to go as fast as we were, but, you know, it'll be faster than the highway since the highway is basically stopped. So let's see what's going on here. You have a green left arrow. Oh, yellow arrow, and oh, see, it stopped at the yellow. That's annoying. Should have gone. Well, we'll get to go here in a second. So now we got a blinking yellow arrow. Let's see what it does. If I need to, I'm going to hit the gas here. Nope, shouldn't have to, because it knows. Blinking yellow, I can go. Steering itself. Look at that. And so this road apparently has a speed limit of 50, which means that the highway drive modes are here. So I'm going to leave it on standard and let's see what happens. It's just going to have us on this road for 7.6 miles or whatever, and drive around that stopped traffic on the interstate. So this is there's one big advantage to FSD is it'll auto route around a closed highway, and you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to look at the map. You don't even have to really realize that it's getting off the highway unless, you know, you're saying, gee, why is it getting off the highway? But, you know, it automatically rerouted, figured out the best route, and it's going to keep going. And, you know, can't beat that with a stick. Good job, FSD. And good job, you know, traffic, Google Maps. I think it's Google is the supplier, but congratulations whoever figured out that the highway was closed and we should reroute. So I'll let you know if it does anything else interesting, but I'm pretty happy with it. Trying to go into the drive-thru. That's funny. I also saw a Starbucks, so I went to stop by there to get a little bit of caffeine. So that was a manual drive as well. And then I pull out and see that there's a software update, but then turn it back on and off we go. This one was actually really irritating. I was trying to use the scroll wheel to reduce the max speed because we were approaching a work zone. And then in the middle of scrolling, the speed limit changed and it reset the speed to a higher amount. And so like I was scrolling down to like 50 or something, and then it reset the speed to 70 in the middle of it. Spun it down and you were like at 77 or something. That. As you can tell from my voice there, during the event, I was pretty irritated. That's something that should definitely be fixed. If you're scrolling down, don't flip it back up. Autopilot aborted for camera visibility. Well, yeah. Yeah. Put it back on. It's worth noting that these are the only 2 times that the system did cut out on me entirely. It is very upset at me and turned off at 8:05. Should be fine now. There we go. Why are you going so fast? And they were disconnected for 16 and 22 seconds, respectively. There are our chargers. Not too down the railroad track. Now, I don't consider this an intervention because I realized I needed to use the restroom and I wanted to get some snacks, so I manually disengaged and pulled in to this gas station to get some snacks and use the restroom, and then turned around and drove out. So it did manage to drive itself out of the parking lot. Pretty good, though. And in version 13, it would have been able to back itself out of the parking spot, too. Even better. it's a little tricky to catch this, but it actually turned right at that intersection when it should have turned left. But then it makes up for it. Why? Why would you turn right when you need to turn left? Why would you do that? Let's see how it does this. Fascinating. Just go that way. There you go. I mean, sure. Would have been easier just to turn left, but you do you, car. Turn in there. Pretty sure that was just luck that it turned that way, but we'll keep going here. I mean, it made up for going the wrong way back there by pulling in here properly. We recommend charging now. All right, I can do that. Good night. This is the Fairfield by Marriott in North Springfield, Missouri, and I just want to say props to them because they have free electric car chargers here. 1, 2, 3 Tesla stations, and then a Clipper Creek J1772. We can see what the most popular is, obviously, with the Teslas. But I just came in last night, plugged in, and now it's full, included with my hotel stay. So thanks very much. This is how every hotel should do it. Just have some EVs, plug them in, give me my 40 amps, and off we'll go. So thank you so much to them. Now, if only they could just, wash my car to get all the dirt off. Oh well. Still looks pretty good though. But yeah, this was great. Thanks so much. This is a V4 Tesla Supercharger, and that is Buc-ee's, and that makes this the greatest electric car charging location in the world. Of course, every Buc-ee's that has a supercharger is the best, and I'll go in there in a minute, but this is the new station. So this guy's got a way longer cable than the prior one, so if you are trying to plug in your Ford F-150 Lightning or something, that cable from there can actually reach around and connect right here. So that's pretty good. At some point, these cabinets will be replaced, and they will be replacing with much higher power so that things like the Cybertruck can charge at 500 kilowatts rather than the more pedestrian 250 that these can do right now. So that's that. So you come over here, you park, and what every car charging station needs, trash cans. Okay, we need more trash cans at our car chargers, and a pet waste station, of course. So that's pretty great. And this one's fairly empty. We're here in Springfield, Missouri. So this is a newer station. I think these went in like last month, and being used. People going inside and getting their delicious Buc-ee's merch. This was fun. I made friends with the guy parked next to me in his Cybertruck who saw all my cameras and asked me many questions about Teslas. He bought it and had never done a software update, had never used FSD even though he paid for it. It was great. He was so excited to have me give him the walkthrough of everything, and he had never seen Smart Summon before, so he gave me a ride over here in his Cybertruck, and I Smart Summoned the car over to us, and he was just thrilled with it. He's like, my truck can do that? Oh my goodness. So that was a lot of fun, and then I got in and took off. So on day one, I had to manually pull into a rest area. But here I got a tip from my friend Andreas, and he said, well, why don't you just press and hold on the map and have it auto route to it? And I said, oh, well, of course that makes sense. And so I did that here and had an upcoming rest area. And so I dropped the pin, set it as an upcoming destination, and the car beautifully took the exit, the left exit at that, and pulled off and pulled into the rest area. So I was able to, stop and get a snack and go to the bathroom and experience some terrible roads. And that all worked out pretty well. Unsurprisingly, it did again have trouble in the parking lot getting me out of said parking lot, and so I actually decided to stop for a moment and grab something out of the trunk, and then continued on my way, and took a couple of tries to get out, but once we aimed the right direction, it was able to figure it out. So again, version V13 and upcoming versions should be able to handle these sorts of things, pulling in and out of parking lots, much better than the current version. So you can see this is sort of hopping around, and then eventually it actually, I think, sees that truck and decides to follow it. So something that FSD and other systems as well really like having is a car to follow, because it helps improve their confidence in the decisions they've made. So having a follow car is great, and in a parking lot helps even more. Alright, this lane is ending. Let's see what it does. Lane ends, merge right. Not touching the wheel. This car right here, it's trying to pass it. Am I gonna have to take over again? I might. Yep. What would it have done there? I don't know. You tell me, but that wasn't good. Lane was disappearing, and it was not slowing down or doing anything. So, go figure. Here's another one. Lane merge. Let's watch what it does. Follows the yellow line. Oh, it goes over it a little bit, but moves over into the next lane. So it's just following the yellow line. Yellow line moves into it, and it says, oh, okay, I should follow this and move over to the right, but it didn't signal, it just smoothly moved over. So that car being there, it's like, oh, I don't want to move into that car, so I'll just stay out here and hope for the best. That's no good. Yeah, this one's on me. I was trying to save the video that I had just recorded and looked away for far too long. What's interesting about that is that it didn't even give me a warning when it was about to go. It just cut off straight. It didn't say, oh, look at the road, look at the road. That was part of the escalation process, where when you've looked away a few times before, or it sees that you're like looking at a phone or something, it'll just give you an autopilot strike straight off the bat. So luckily I was able to just jump off the highway at the next exit, come to a stop, and re-enable autopilot. So I did get a strike. I was looking away. It was deserved. But in my defense, I was trying to save a video that I took of the FSD misbehaving at a merge lane. So I'll just excuse myself on that one. But you know, I should note that I have used my phone a bunch on this drive here and there, and just been really careful about how long I was doing it and how long I was looking away, and just trying to use it just for a moment to get my to not look away for too long, because you are supposed to watch the road, and that's what it's for. And so eventually you will have FSD unsupervised, but we're not quite there yet. So that was it. There's my strike. I did it. I'm sorry. To it? Nope, it's over here. This one is actually pretty funny to me. I tell it to go, and so it pulls forward, drives to the parking lot, and what it should do is either turn left out of the parking spot or turn left from right here. But you can see in the top right, the mapping isn't great for this parking lot, and so it just drives through the parking lot around this diner and then just keeps driving. And I was wondering if it would just drive in circles forever. But we can watch what it does here. And left is the wrong direction, so I try and encourage it, point it right. And now we're going to go right past the Supercharger spot that I just pulled out of. And so if it had turned left towards the stop sign, that would have been the correct direction to go. It would have done this, but it didn't. So more parking lot shenanigans. This is another one of those ones that probably would have been fine, but it still spooked me. This Jersey barrier was sticking out into the lane, and it looks like the car saw it. I don't know if it would have pushed over, but I grabbed the wheel and was like, I don't want to hit that. So that's another intervention. work zones are definitely a challenge, and you can see there's basically a very sharp turn coming up here, and just sort of a chicane right left. And what's particularly amusing is that there are a bunch of marks on the wall you can see where people already banged into it, and I'm a little annoyed that it didn't slow down more, but it's another one of those. It probably would have been fine because it was very obvious that there was a giant barrier there, but I still took over. And it's one of those things that we'll see how version 13 does if it handles it better, but that's just a weird situation, which is why it's FSD supervised, and you got to take over. Now, if I had manually turned the speed down, or if it had slowed down to, say, 45 miles an hour, it probably would have been fine there. I try really hard to give trucks room on the highway because they're working hard. And so you can see I'm actually trying to spin the wheel on the speed to slow down the car to give the truck room to move over, because there's another truck pulled over at the side of the road. He's trying to move over to give that guy room. So totally a safety related thing, and the car won't slow down fast enough for me to give him room. So hit the brakes, slowed it down, and then he was able to sort of slide over a little bit. But that's just another one of those things that, you got to be able to slow down sometimes. In retrospect, I could have just pressed the button to move the car into the left lane and maybe slow down a little bit, but I wasn't sure what was going on up ahead. You can see the flashing light, and it is just as confusing to me today as it was on the day it happened. And basically what it is it's a tow truck working on the side of the road, and he set up a strobe light aimed up the road, basically to say, hey, pay attention, don't hit me, I'm here. And I had no idea what I was looking at, if it was a cop or what. And so I manually took over just to deal with that, because it was sort of a weird safety situation late at night, and then turned the car back on. So, there you go. Do what you gotta do. Well, not only did I have to manually drive in, I had to manually park. Go figure. Perfect. Time for bed. All right, so the last hotel I stayed at had an amazing EV charge setup where they had free chargers. This, Element by Weston here in Albuquerque, is much less wonderful. So I went over here and looked at the price. Energy rate, $1. Oh, that sounds great. Okay, so I get 6 kilowatts, works out to be like 15 cents per kilowatt hour. That's pretty good for level 2. But then down here at the bottom, which I didn't notice until later, first hour free, thereafter $4 an hour. So $5 an hour for 6 kilowatt charging. Almost $1 a kilowatt hour. So that wasn't worth it. That's a ripoff. So, yeah, it's great that you have, EV charging at your hotel. That's great. I'm excited. You put it on the website and everything. But they didn't have on the website their pricing. And I understand why. And now, okay, it's charge point. I can go look it up now that I know it's a charge point, like once I was here. But what the hell? What? It's not supposed to be a profit center. EV charging at a hotel should be like the gym or the pool, and it's a mandatory thing. If you want to charge a little bit to cover your costs, right? 20 cents a kilowatt hour or something like that, then that's fine. But there's a reason that the guy inside had no clue what I was talking about when I asked about car chargers, the guy at the desk, because nobody's using them because they're too expensive. Someday, there will be EV chargers everywhere at these hotels, and it'll be like the pool or whatever. But this time, no good. Not impressed. Do better, Element. Just make it free for people staying here. You got this huge parking lot. Like, why do you need to charge a per hour fee overnight? Makes no sense. Oh well, back on the road. Now, the car did get, stuck on this corner because it was turning too close to the curb and I had to take over and restart it, but after that, it was fine, and I am off to Chick-Fil-A. Boy, I wish I could get sponsored by Chick-Fil-A and tell you how great their mobile app is and how you can order on the app and then just pull in and say, mobile order for Jordan, and they'll have all your food ready for you, and you get points and all kinds of stuff. Sadly, I am not sponsored by Chick-fil-A. Oh well. But I was able to put in my next destination and set up my routing to the next charger, because I actually did stop the charging halfway through the night last night once I saw how much it was costing me. So there was, ironically, a Supercharger 5 minutes from the hotel, not even, across the street, basically. And so I set that up, and being as how this is my last day, I checked all of the charging stops to make sure none of them were slow, and then we were off to the races. I'm not sure what happened here, but it was going to turn left. You can see the turn signal is on, and this is not a left turn lane, I think. The left two lanes are certainly both left turn lanes, and the middle one, I think, was a go straight lane. So I manually took over and kicked us into the left-hand lane. I did try and hit the turn signal button, but because the turn signal is already on to turn left, it didn't work. So that, I assume, is just a mapping thing. But after that, we were good to go. This, I would have been fine to just let it go, I think, but I didn't want the truck thinking I was going to run into him. And so I saw the truck start to pull out, and I just hit the brake out of instinct, basically, and slowed down to give him room and then turned it back on. And, that's one of those ones that I suspect it would have been fine if I had left it. And does make me wish I could go back and see the car in simulation mode when I do an intervention like that and see what would it have done. It is running that in the background, but there's no way for regular people to see it. This was one of the weirdest nav-related FSD issues. If you look at the map right now, you can see it should take a right turn out of the parking lot and then get right on the highway. Except it comes this way to come out of the parking lot, and this is, again, I think it's a parking lot-related thing. It reroutes to take a left on this road instead of a right. It should just make a right and then a left turn, and then you're right on the highway. But instead it turns left, and you can see on the nav right there, number one, it doesn't go on the right side of the thing. But on the other, it wants me to take a 10-mile detour to go around to get back to the highway. I don't know what it's thinking. I would hope that version 13 would be like, oh, this is the wrong way, and just make a U-turn or something. But I was pretty annoyed that it was going to try and make me go that way, and that it forced me to intervene. So that was a nav-related intervention. This one is basically the car is trying to move to the right to pass the truck, but the truck was already trying to move to the right. I tried to hit the button to cancel the lane change. That didn't seem to work. It was going to finish the change and then would have to move over again. I really don't know entirely how you cancel a lane change on the highway. It doesn't seem to be working properly. Again, hopefully that's something that V13 fixes. for some reason, my big camera stopped recording, and so I just switched here to the iPhone just for this segment, and then I figure out that it stopped recording and turn it back on. So, just for continuity, I give you the whole thing here. This was definitely my worst intervention on the entire trip. It has a lot of trouble slowing down for exit ramps. So I'm going 63 miles an hour approaching this stop sign. I intervene and stomp on the brakes, and you can actually see the car had not registered the stop signs yet when I took over. So I assume it would panic stop, but I have no idea. But I really had to stomp on the brakes to get us stopped for that stop sign. So definitely a problem that I have seen a couple times is coming too fast off of areas where there's a high speed limit section to like a sharp curve or something where you definitely need to slow down, and the car just doesn't do it as much as I would hope. And hopefully in version 13, when you have the larger window for context, it'll work better. We'll see. Here we go. Here's another nav parking lot related thing. I realized that if it had taken a right turn, I would not have had to cut across a few lanes of traffic to make a U-turn. And so I just take over and turn around myself to force it to drive out of the correct direction. So now it'll just make a couple lefts and have a left turn at the light instead of needing to cross, 3 or 4 lanes of traffic and make a U-turn. So this worked much better. So this is another forced disengagement, however, is not an autopilot strike because I didn't realize quite how fast I was going, and I was trying to encourage it to go a little bit faster to get around the truck, and I forced it to accelerate over the 85 mile per hour limit that FSD refuses to drive faster than, and I needed to stop and pull off the road and put it into park and then get going again. So this does not count as a strike, but instead was me trying to make the car go too fast. And so then I had to drive manually for 2 minutes or so, and I was trying to get ahead of the truck and then pull over. So this was just an oopsie on my part. I was just trying to get around the truck and encourage the car to go a little faster, and I encouraged it to go a bit too fast. So up here in a second, I turn on the hazard lights and just pull over to a relatively safe-ish part of the road, put it in park, take it out again, and we're good to go. So actually we have this little street sign over here on the right, and I decided to kind of hide behind it and put the car in park and take it out again. That's the truck I just passed. He's probably like, why the hell did this guy just pass me and then stop? But put it in park. And then I go and check the speed, and it's like, nope, that doesn't do anything. That's just speed warnings. And then take off again and start to pull out, turn off the hazards, and let FSD take over again. So that was my longest manually driving stretch of the entire thing, and that one was entirely my fault. Had nothing to do with the car. It would have been just fine. More trickiness with lane changes. It tries to change into the left-hand lane to pass all these cars in a work zone where the left lane is, again, about to disappear. I pressed the button to move back to the right, and it didn't do it fast enough. Everyone was slowing down, and it was going to try and pass them going into this work zone, and I'm like, no chance do I want to do that. So I manually took over, moved back to the right, and forced it to stay there. I manually turned down the speed, and then we just continued on through the work zone. So just these are the edge cases where it just has a little bit of trouble. And again, I think the context window stuff might make it work better. Ironically, it could have gone in the left lane and it would have been fine. I thought that lane was disappearing, and then it didn't. welcome to California, where you have to go through this agricultural checkpoint or something when you enter the state. Basically, it is like a toll booth, and what the car was going to do was go through one of the X lanes to the left, and I couldn't do that because they were closed. So I come and pull behind this truck and re-engage FSD, and so then it just follows the truck. And what's great about it is that up here in a second, I'm actually waved through the stop sign, and I was able to just let the car go, and it drove through. So this was more an issue with it choosing the appropriate lane. Now, I do wonder if when it saw that orange barrier, if it would have stopped itself. There he goes waving me through, and I just let it go. And if it would have stopped itself and tried to move into the right-hand lane, but it would have gone around the guy, it just wouldn't have worked. So that's another sort of weird edge case. Toll booths. We'll see if new versions can handle that a bit better. Now, I don't know if this was a parking lot challenge that it had or one that I had, but I kind of wanted it to drive straight across, and I think what it did is it saw the lines and didn't want to cross them, even though it sort of does, and then it doesn't really know where to go. So I manually took over and then reactivated it, and it kind of figured out, okay, I want to go this way. Then the problem was it should have taken a left here, but it didn't want to. It turned right. And then, just in the interest of time, because this is day 4 and I'm really tired of driving, instead of letting it go, 1.5 miles or whatever it is up to the next turnaround point, I just took over and had it pull into this little road gas station thing and make a U-turn and then take back over. And so this is another one of those things that I wonder if V13, with its, ability to make U-turns and 3-point turns and stuff, would have handled better. So just have to try that out next time. This way. Parking lots. Parking lots are hard. It really has trouble. This is another one of those, I'm not sure what's going on here. I wanted to move out of the carpool lane, and so I hit the button and tell it to move, and it didn't. And so then I hit the button again and had to manually take over to move over because there was a guy behind me and he really wanted to get by and go faster. And me pressing the button, I don't know if it was because it was on a curve or what, but it wouldn't change lanes. And so then I let it go and it moved back into the carpool lane behind him and off we went. this was actually a really interesting / good maneuver that FSD made. We have an upcoming exit to the right, but it moves to the left to go around the truck. And then it starts signaling to move back to the right. And what it does is it moves into the lane that the truck was just in, and then seamlessly continues to the right to take the exit. Now, that was kind of a dick move, but I did think it was interesting, and, you know, it probably would have been better to move to the right of the truck to go around it, but it went around it, and it made this nice, smooth, like, human-like passing move. After 2,868 miles, I can say I am here in Redondo Beach, and it hasn't been perfect. There have been a few issues here and there, but for the most part, full self-driving has done a fantastic job. I am going to have to go and pull the tape, but I believe I have not touched the wheel for more than... I would be shocked if it was even 5 minutes across this entire adventure. So, aside from, of course, parking lots. Parking lots have been the big thing that I have not been able to do because of, you know, the system just isn't able to navigate parking lots yet. Version 13, which just came out to certain people, looks like it will be, and we will see. But you know, we're not quite there yet, and I'll just have to do it again. Or before I head back east to Boston, maybe I can get version 13 and try it out and compare the two. But this is an incredible achievement by Tesla to have this. And yeah, it took Elon, you know, 6 extra years or 7 extra years or whatever it was to build a car that could drive itself across the country. Again, it's not perfect, but it's awful close. So I'm pretty impressed here by what they've done. And there is the sign for the Portofino Hotel and Marina. The Pacific Ocean is up ahead. And this has been quite the adventure. And I'm, you know, if you'd told me 5 months ago, 6 months ago, that I was going to be able to do this, I would have said, no chance. No chance is that possible. But here we are, and we've done it. And here is the thing. Portofino Hotel and Marina. How's it going? Oop. Made it through. Got past the guy. And here we are. And of course, here at the end, this is where it fails. So I'll just drive up here. Maybe they'll let me use the restroom. because there is the sign, the end of the run, the Portofino Hotel, finish line of the Cannonball. So here we are with my winter tires on, made it all the way. Just shockingly impressive. So very cool. And we made it. So now we just got to turn around and go back, right? Red Ball Garage, Manhattan. That's where we started. I should have just booked a room here. But not too bad. Good job, Tesla. My little Model 3 Performance. She did great. I wish it was the daytime, but that's okay. But thank you for watching. And, you know, I can't wait to do this again and see how far version 13 can go and bring us. And, you know, it's pretty amazing how far we've come. And at the same time, we've still got a long way to go. So thanks for watching. Drive safely.